Hi, I'm Jalen Rose, and welcome to the Renaissance Man podcast, proudly presented by the New York Post, a show where we cover trends in fashion, entertainment, current events, and everything in between. You may know my next guest as TV and film artist. One half of this duo used to be a part of my Detroit Lions.
Right, I forget that part. It was fun.
Yes. No doubt about it. But they're also the ultimate power couple. And check this out as we represent Black love. They've been together for 20 years.
Yes, sir.
Have 4 kids.
Yes,
and
sir.
This pair doesn't hold back when they're sharing their intimate details of what it takes to make a relationship last.
Yes,
in their wildly popular podcast, Dead Ass, with Khadeen and Devale Ellis. It is my honor to welcome, by the way, these New York Times best-selling authors.
Talk about it.
After publishing their relationship book. Y'all hear this? Check this title, everybody. We Over Me. Let me rewind the tape. We Over Me. The counterintuitive approach to getting everything you want from your relationship. It is my honor to welcome the incredible Devale and Khadeen Ellis to the Renaissance Man podcast. What up, though?
What up, though? We actually in Detroit right now.
What an intro, first off.
That was great.
We just take you everywhere we go.
No doubt. No doubt. It's my honor. It is my pleasure. And I mentioned it in you guys' very well-deserved intro about Black love. Every marriage has an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about how you both met and what your lives were like at that time.
Wow.
Ooh, we were babies.
The first thing I'll say is, number one, Black love is revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say our love is not only revolutionary, but it's also divine. Like I would not go without saying that God put us together for a purpose, a greater purpose than anything that we could ever see. It's bigger than that. But when we first met, well, we've known each other since we were elementary school kids. Yeah. We went to the same elementary school, and we officially met when we were 18. I'll let my wife take away that story because it was actually all her. She shot the shot. She the one that
shot the shot. Straight buckets over here, okay?
No doubt.
Look, so our paths crossed so many points in our life, from elementary school up through high school. So finally, Devale had graduated high school and got a scholarship from the same elementary school that we had gone to.
Yeah.
They had like a charity foundation. So he got a scholarship, and I was actually the host, what we're co-hosting the event. So I saw on the list of honorees Devale's name. Now, mind you, prior to this, I had just seen him in passing at high school football games because we went to rival high schools. He used to work at Haagen-Dazs in the mall. And I never had the guts to go up to him and say anything, right? So I said—
I had a shook, Jay. I had a shook.
I was quivering a little bit, you know? So I feel like it had to be the right moment for me to approach him. And I was like playing in my mind how this was going to happen, right? So at that time, I had won a pageant. So I said to my mom, I'm like, I got to get a new gown. I have to wear my crown and banner for this event. And she's like, you're not about to buy no new dress. You got one in the closet. Go get your dress, put your crown and banner, and we're going to go. So knowing that he would be there, I got to the banquet and I saw him and his brother in the distance. And it was like a movie, you know, when you walk through the door and in the distance, you know, the music starts playing and then the light got brighter in the room around him. And I was like, oh my God, like he's actually here. You know? So I walk over to him. I introduce myself to him and his brother. We get to chit-chatting pretty much throughout that night.
Yeah, the whole night.
Now, can you believe, Jalen, that at the end of the night, we're at ballet.
Yes, you go.
And this guy is literally about to let me walk away and get in my parents' car without asking for my phone number.
Jalen.
Oh no, back in the day. Oh
like,
yeah.
Like what?
Jalen, you from the D. You understand what it takes to get a woman's attention.
Okay.
My uncle Kevin and my father always told me you can't be too in their face. You got to let them think you don't want them. So I already had a plan. I was going to walk away, right, do the slow turn.
Again, a dramatic movie.
And then I was going to let her walk away and then turn back. And I didn't even get a chance to do that because when I turned to walk away, she goes, since you didn't want to ask me for my number,
yeah,
she grabs my book and says, I'm going to put my number in your book.
That's exactly. I grabbed his arm, grabbed his program booklet out of his hand, and I was like,
that's dope.
Write my number down and go ahead and use that. Right?
That's dope. That's dope. And I have to take you guys back a little further. Y'all hear that, youngsters? Wrote the number down in the book. So let's talk about technology then. Devale, you just mentioned it. We used to have to remember the number, write the number in the book. Talk about technology then and how you guys were staying connected at that point of your relationship.
It's insane when I think about it, right?
I mean, real talk. This is how far back we go. Once I had your number, I used to have to call. She didn't give me her cell phone number. She gave me her mom's house number.
Yes!
I had to call her mom's house. So I used to go in my parents' basement. They had a rotary phone.
Yes!
So I had to go boom.
Vintage.
I had to do all of this to call her. So then finally I call her and I'm like, hello, good evening. This is Devale Ellis. I'm calling for Khadeen Joseph. Before I could get it out, her sister, who's 7-year-old, goes, she ain't here. Hangs up the phone on my face. The whole summer, Jay. The whole summer, she hung up the phone on me for 6 weeks straight.
And the only other time that he can try to get through to me is if the landline, like if it was plugged into the modem for the computer.
Yes.
And it's like, God forbid I forgot to plug it back in and he wasn't going to get nobody no how.
Yes.
Then I ended up losing his phone number. So he was trying to get in touch with me. I lost his phone number. Like, how am I going to get this man's phone number? Out. Turns out he lived 7 blocks away from me for most of our lives. So I remember him telling me the block. So I was like, let me drive past and see if I see like his mom outside, his dad, his car. No luck. I go to the white pages, bro.
Throwback.
The
white pages. Yes.
And I look up his dad's first and last name, and I'm like, oh, that's the only Troy Ellis there. I'm like, this gotta be the house. So I had to call the house phone to get his cell phone number.
Yes. And by the way, this builds character at the beginning of a relationship.
Absolutely.
Because nowadays you DM, pull up, send me a pic, send nudes. You really don't even have a conversation.
Yes.
So talk about the courting process of having to call, get through the sister. Talk about the courting process, having to go through the white pages in order to find the person that you really wanted to date.
I'm glad you brought that up because people don't understand how that builds a foundation.
Correct.
Khadeen went through all of that. I went through the 6 to 8 weeks of waiting for her. Finally, she gets my cell phone number and she calls me. She's just like, hey, handsome. She's like, do you know who this is? I'm like, it sounds like Khadeen. She's like, yeah, I'm going to be at Hofstra tomorrow. I'm going to come through. Once again, you talk about the courting process. There was no DMs. There was no, I'm about to like these pictures. I had to pick her up at Hofstra USA, bring her back to my dorm room, get something to eat. We sat down for 5 hours and just talked, Jay.
Just
talk. And this is where we fell in love. And I didn't realize it until I was older. She says to me, she's eating a hero, mayonnaise falling down.
Yes. No Mr. Charles.
No.
A hero.
No filters.
No Mr. Child. No carbon. None of that. No.
I was a broke college kid.
Meal
and
points.
I have no blue check on my Twitter or no blue check on my Instagram. I was nobody. And we sit down on my bed and she goes, so what do you want to do with your life? And at the time, Martin was on TV. And I said to her that I want to do that. And she looked at TV and she said, Martin, I said, I want to be an actor. I want to have my own TV show. This next sentence is what locked me in. She said, well, how we going to get there?
Love it. She
included herself
ride or die.
And it was just like, she's not laughing. She's not saying, oh, it's not possible. She included herself in my dream. And from there, she's been my baby ever
most
since.
people would probably think that was crazy for me, like on the first, real date.
My parents.
No doubt, laugh at you, all of that.
You told your parents I said that?
No. My parents thought I was crazy when I said I wanted to do TV.
You
the only person that believed in me.
Got you. That is true.
Dope.
That is true.
That's dope. So also, music played a part in relationships then. They set the mood. I know y'all made playlists, tapes, CDs in the car. Talk to me about some of the tunes y'all was listening to when you first started dating.
Again,
so do you remember the moment?
Moments. Yeah. So which
Talk
one?
about the moment when I'm gonna speed through this moment. I was dating another young lady at the time. Mm-hmm. Me and Kay are kissing in my room, making out. I feel this wetness coming down my face. I'm like, whoa, what's the matter? She's crying. I'm like, what's the matter? She said, I can't be nobody's number two. Like, I can't do this.
I just couldn't. Guilt was eating me up. I'm like, I don't know what y'all situation is, but you in transition here. I can't be a part of it. So.
And I said, well, look, I'm not looking to be anybody's boyfriend, not hers, not yours. So you do what you got to do. And she got up and she walked out of my room. Walked out of my room, went through the quad. I'm looking through the window. She's walking through the quad. She doesn't look back. And I'm like, dang, I got to go get her. I jump in my car. She's driving in front of me down Hofstra by Hofstra USA. I cut her off, Jay. In the middle of the intersection. Another movie moment. Get out the car, and I'm just like, just stay, please. I promise you, I'll figure it out. What was the song that was playing during that time?
Stingy by Genuine. Stingy by Genuine. Then there was another time when I was in the car with his brother, and his brother was like, you really seem to like this girl because she lasted longer than 2 weeks that you normally used to. and we were kissing for like what felt like an eternity, but Aaliyah's song was playing. It's Whatever was playing in the background. The first time we made love was to Beauty.
Drew Hill.
I mean,
R&B. It was R&B during that time. It was 2002.
That's when music was real.
Yeah, it was all
no doubt. And the growth of you guys' relationship allowed you to love your way through a long distance relationship, financial instability, parenthood, and so much more. Yeah. Tell me about the essential relationship truth that got you through those trials and errors.
The essential relationship truth would have to be the title to our book, We Over Me. Yeah. We've always been of service to each other and to each other's dreams. I remember when I was a rookie in Detroit, I did well, made the team as an undrafted free agent tryout, but I needed my girl with me. And she graduated from college, moved right out here to Detroit with me. And then it was her turn to chase her dream. So they had a traffic reporter search for, was it Fox?
WDIV.
Oh, WDIV. WDIV. And she made it to the top 10. And every day she and I would go out and I would buy her a new outfit so she could, every day she went back, every day she had to wear a new outfit. But it was always about being of service to each other. Like my dream came first because I graduated, but then her dream was right there. And it didn't matter who was in the spotlight. The other person was right there to be like, it was your time. Go get it. So I think that's been the biggest thing for us.
I think for me, from my perspective, with all of the trials and tribulations, with the transitions, of course, there's college, the NFL, then the recession hit, we lost all of our money, we went back to Brooklyn. The thing that kept us alive was always making sure that we gave each other the choice to be here. Yeah. And by doing that, we communicated not necessarily always effectively because that evolved over time. I came from a background where I wasn't used to being very vocal or being very expressive about the way I felt. And Devale was the opposite.
I came from a sports background where you talk directly at people. So we used to bump heads all the time.
Yeah, because I would always think that he was just criticizing me, or I felt inadequate sometimes because I felt like I was not able to live up to the standard that he had set as like almost like a coach, But then I realized too, I had to be more vocal about the way I felt. And by us pushing for each other to be more transparent and be organic in the way that we felt, it gave us the choice in every moment to be there, without any kind of facade. The transparency is really what helped us get through those humps.
Yeah. And as somebody that grew up in humble beginnings and saw multiple relationships deteriorate for different reasons, you guys just acknowledged two things that keep you guys strong. One is communication, and two is overcoming financial instability. So talk to me about the years and the times. Bring us to the years when you guys were struggling financially and how you guys were able to keep it together.
Jay, this is always like a hard thing for me to talk about because, first of all, as a man, right, you have a responsibility to provide and protect. And then on top of that, you're a professional athlete, right? People automatically assume if you're in the NFL, you make millions of dollars.
No doubt. You got it all in your pocket right now from the rookie year.
You know what I'm saying? So I was a free agent tryout. I was on the rookie minimum. At that time, it was $275K, which is the equivalent of a stockbroker in New York. I'm living in Detroit and I'm living in New York. But I still did everything that I was supposed to properly with the money. I invested in the stock market. I invested in property. I didn't go out spending my money on jewelry and women and cars. No, I did everything the right way. But then in 2008, the recession hits. The same exact week I get cut. It was 2008. I'll never forget. It was 2008. I'm supposed to be the third wide receiver of the five wide receivers taken by Detroit. And they decided to keep 4 that year. We had drafted a ton of D linemen. And I got cut. And then 2 weeks later, they say, hey, we're in the greatest recession America has seen since the Great Depression. I'm watching my bank account lose $15,000 a day. Damn. We had just bought a property. I bought a house for my grandmother so they can move. I brought my Aunt Debbie a car. I bought Khadeen a car. I was just providing for my whole family. Doubt. And then boom, everything is gone. Like, I don't have a job. We just bought a home in Michigan. I had to move out of that home. We moved back to Brooklyn. And it was almost like a scene from a sitcom. NFL star loses everything and has to move back to gentrified Brooklyn with his wife, who is now my fiance, and plan a wedding. And during that time, the only reason why we were able to get through with it was because my wife here, and I will always say this, being an athlete, no one understands what it's like when you no longer play anymore. Correct. It doesn't matter if you play 3 years or if you play 30 years. Correct. The minute you retire, you go from being Devale Ellis to he used to be Devale Ellis.
No doubt.
And there's something that hits you where you feel like you're no longer the man that you were supposed to be, because you feel like everybody sees you as something smaller than what you are. My wife said to me, okay, what's the plan? What do you want to do next? I said, look, I don't want to do football no more. I want to focus on TV. I want to focus on business. Once again, she says, okay, how are we going to get there?
Love it.
And when I tell you, Jay, there was times where I would sit in the bathroom. I never let my wife know. I would sit in the bathroom, close the door, put the shower on. She think I'm in the shower. I sit on the toilet and cry. And she'd be like, you okay, Devale? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I was about to jump out the shower. But it was all about that transition from being a pro athlete to what's next. And the only thing that got me through it was knowing I had a woman who was with me no matter what, no matter how much money I made, no matter if my title was NFL athlete, former NFL athlete, used to be. No, it didn't matter. To her, I was Devale. And we had a plan. We built together. And after 10 years, we back to, and I told her, I said, yo, give me time, and I promise you, I will get us back to where we were when I was playing football.
Yeah, and you always say, I promise you that every year will be better than the last.
That's
no doubt. No doubt.
So said, so done.
Yeah.
And Khadeen, I want to make sure I salute you, because the term happy life, happy wife applies here. Because when you do become an athlete, especially if you're a Black man, people judge us by what we do and what we have.
That's a fact.
And when we go through that period, when we're sitting in the bathroom, turning on the shower, crying, a lot of times that woman leaves.
Talk about it, Jay. How many times have I said that to you? Jay, I literally said to her, I honor her so much, because you were 23, 24. You could have easily went out and been like, I'm going to find me another high earner.
No doubt. I'm about to watch the draft and go get me another pick. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. It's true.
So I have to ask you as a woman, in a relationship that now you're a wife, now you're a mom, now you guys are a successful power couple. What was it like for you standing by your man through these turbulent times when we're required to be macho and fearless and have endless bank accounts?
You hit the nail on the head with that last part of the question, because I think that's what Devale was struggling with, trying to keep up his composure when he felt like everything was crumbling around him. And when I know that he was retiring from the NFL, he had an opportunity to play in Canada. And for me, I just felt like he wasn't able to really like live out his full potential in the NFL. So I was ready to move to Canada, learn the national anthem, and be like, all right, we're gonna play out in the CFL for
my home in native land.
I was like, we'll just be Canadians I got 1 year maternity leave out there, free healthcare. It's great, you know? So I was ready to do all that. But then I looked at him and I saw that that was just not fulfilling for him anymore. And I knew from that very first conversation in his dorm room that the NFL was really just a means to an end for him. It was not a dream. He wanted to be an actor, but he also knew that I have a wife. We had gotten married at that point, moved back home. I think I was pregnant with our son. And he was just like, yo, I can't be a starving actor, but I do want to start this business. I see a mentorship program that I want to start in Brooklyn. How can we make this work? I said, well, the first thing we need is health insurance. So I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. I work as a part-time makeup artist out here in Troy, Michigan. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the mall. He said, I think that's a good idea. So took my ring off, put it in the jewelry box, walked, put my makeup on, put on my all black, walked to the bus stop, got on the bus and went to the mall.
Now, I gotta cut you off because I have to draw this out for you, Jay, so you understand. My kept wife, who was living in a 6,000 square foot home, living room, dining room, 4 bathrooms, bedrooms, front yard, background, now has to move back to Brooklyn. Get on the city bus, put her engagement ring inside so that no one can see it, and work at the mall. Like, you know how many women would have been like, I'm not doing this.
No,
she did that.
There was just something in Devale that I saw early on. And that was like in the first conversation, there was a passion and a charisma that he had. And the way he spoke about things, making it to the NFL, not to put you on blast, baby, but when I met him, he was like a pot spoon, all right? He had a big old head and a little tiny body.
No doubt.
Are you sure you're going to make it in the NFL? Because I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, they're big, you know?
Right. They might hurt you.
They might hurt you. What she said, but he worked and he was diligent and he was relentless. And when people were on spring break, we weren't at spring break. I was helping him throw passes, even though I wasn't the best, you know, Jay, I hadn't had the best arm. But
when they tell our story, real talk, when they tell our story, they're going to have to show pictures of Khadeen with the playbook.
Literally.
Hop to trip right motion, scat right, 525, F-post swing.
Oh, I remember it.
You remember it. What do you have, Devale? I'm the genius, though I got to come back. She's like, yeah, you got to come back. Then she'll throw me the pass and I'll just walk through the routes. We did that from the time we were 18, 19.
Literally. So what kept me alongside him was that whatever he wanted to do, he just full force went for it. I've never met anyone with such unyielding work ethic. Relentless in his pursuits of anything. When I saw him and I met him and as I got to know him, I was like, he's going to be an amazing father one day, an amazing husband one day. He finds a way to give everything 100%. And I don't know how he does it. But what I had to also tap into more recently is just his well-being, because I'm accustomed to him always being okay. And I took that for granted for a large portion of our relationship because
come on, man. It's all right. It's all right.
It just sometimes strikes a chord with me because for so much of our relationship, he always had it. You know, he's like, hey, everything is fine. Everything is good. Don't worry about it. Because he was accustomed to having to put up that front and that facade to be the strong man. Correct. And for so many Black men, that is their story. They cannot be open. They cannot be vulnerable. They cannot ask for help. And I think about how I took that for granted for so many years, just thinking that he was okay. And I can just, you know, hop and skip and do my part and do my fair share, knowing that ultimately he had my back. And it wasn't until recently where he had a moment where he literally had a breakdown.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing too much.
Yes.
And it's like, how did I not notice? Or how did I not recognize the signs of him being overworked and stressed out?
Yes.
And that's what he finally said to me, you know, in that moment. This happened last November. He was just like, you know, okay, it was just a lot. There were just so many things going on, you know? So I know that there were points in our relationship over the 20 years where he was having those moments, but he finally, you know, felt vulnerable enough to say, hey, like, something's wrong, you know? And I appreciated the strength in that.
Wow, that's incredible. And Devale, I have to salute you, my brother, because as a Black man, as an athlete, as your queen just acknowledged, we're not allowed to be vulnerable.
Talk about it, bro.
We're not allowed to fail and then recover because people already kick us when we're down.
It's true.
And to have an NFL opportunity to say you wanted to do something in entertainment, ain't nobody believe in you. People's laughing at you. I know. They laughed at me too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to ask you, as a husband, as a father, what gave you the strength? Because that's what it is, to confide in your bride and know that that pillow talk, that relationship will be something that this is an investment that's going to mean everything for my future.
Wow. To even listen to you talk like that, it brings me back. Like, we had some rough times, especially when I transitioned from football to TV. What I'm about to say may be controversial, but I don't care. I believe in God,
Yes.
but I don't believe that God exists in the space in the universe. I believe that God exists in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when God gives you a message, you have no choice but to follow that message, regardless of what everyone else says.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, God said to me, Devale, you have a higher calling than just working or doing anything else. He said, it's bigger than money. It's bigger than fame. You have a responsibility to be a leader of men. This is what the message he always said to me. And he said, you will find a way to be that leader of men. And throughout every aspect of my life, it didn't matter whether it was football, whether it was running a mentorship program, owning a gym. There's always been like a field of young men who always gravitated towards me. Mm-hmm. So I've always felt like I've had a responsibility, like a fiduciary responsibility that God gave me to always pay it forward. Mm-hmm. And what greater way to pay it forward than to just try to be the best version of yourself you can. And if I always wanted to be in a relationship, I had to confide in my queen to let her know what my vision was, because it wasn't really my vision. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like this was a divine calling. God was just like, yo, you have to be the best version of yourself. You have to go do it on the straight and narrow. You got to do it the right way. Because you know, Jay, you from Detroit, the same way I'm from Brooklyn, New York. It is so easy to look to your left and your right and see somebody getting easy money.
No doubt.
I'm doing that.
Why are we doing this?
No doubt.
But now it was something bigger than me. I can't even say it was I can't even say like I just had the fortitude. I didn't. So many mornings I woke up and be like, why am I doing this? Like, it's exhausting. I'm not making a lot of money. I was playing in the NFL and I freaking hated it. I played for 3 years. And every morning I woke up to go to practice. And this is why I didn't play that long. It takes a different type of beast and mental fortitude to be a professional athlete playing any sport. Mm-hmm. That's why when I hear people, man, I watched you defend Kwame Brown.
Yep.
And when I tell you, I understood exactly where you were coming from. You like, dude was a number one pick.
Exactly.
Played close to 10 years in the NBA, and people calling him a bust. Like, he's at the 1% of the 1% at his job.
Correct.
And y'all have the nerve to call him a bust. Yeah.
Correct.
It takes a different type of mental fortitude to go to where he went. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like God gave me the same mental fortitude with everything in my life. It wasn't football. It was owning a gym in a facility and mentoring kids in Brooklyn. Okay, now, Devale, it's time to pivot. You got to do it with TV film. Mm-hmm. Include your family. Make sure that you stay on a high moral ground and you do things that are in line with what you and your wife and your family always want to do. I've turned down a lot of stuff. My wife has turned down a lot of stuff, but it's always been in God's will. Mm-hmm. So I got to give God the credit, because I don't really think it's me. I'm like a normal person. I'm not 6'5". I'm extremely fast. I will say that, but
I don't think of your motto. The motto that you made for yourself, or your mantra, was it?
The mantra I made when I was 19 was, each day I work to build a legacy, not to be defined by my greatness, but by the masters I inspire to be greater than myself.
No doubt.
And once again, I don't even know where them words came from. Like, I got to just keep giving honor to God, Jay. I can't even sit here and say, like, I knew it, and I don't. Sometimes I don't know. I don't even know how I'm here talking to you. You know how many days me and my son Jackson watched you on TV, and I just be like, yo, he from the D. He'd be like, yo, his hairline mad sharp. That's my and I'm like, yo, Jax, there's so much other things athletes can do. I talk about the school you opened up in Detroit. There's so many things people don't even know about that I'm aware of, bro. And I could ask you the same question, bro. How do you find the mental fortitude to do everything you did? You were a freaking superstar in basketball, but now you're a superstar on TV and still find time to do stuff in your community. Like,
thank you. And the crazy thing for anybody that sees this show, I'm from Detroit and you guys are currently in Michigan.
Mhm.
But I'm in New York and Brooklyn interviewing y'all for the New York Post. So you're right. He is in all of us.
Yes.
And you mentioned something earlier, how people gravitate to you.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons why people gravitate to you is because you're genuine.
That's a fact.
People can sense phony from the beginning. And the other thing that solidifies it, when you got a queen on your arm.
That's a fact.
Thank you.
Look at the chessboard.
That's a fact.
Look at the chessboard. Yes, in order to get checkmate, you got to corner the king. But he don't really move around.
Right.
True.
He don't really move. But that queen, oh man, that's a lethal weapon on the board.
Yes, sir.
Jay, you're not lying. Let me tell you how I know.
The chessboard follows us through life.
We go places, right? We go places and we'll see famous, powerful people. And I'll be like, man, in my mind, like, damn, I wish I can get an opportunity, right? Before I can say that, my wife comes over to me like, I already got his number. I'm like, how? His wife.
Let's go.
I was over there. I was already talking to his wife. And before I know
doubt.
I'm having dinners with famous, powerful people because my wife has made a connection. But that's the power of a queen, though. She knows how to work the room. I go in there and have my presence. I am who I am, but my wife always knows how to work the room.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And by the way, aside from you both having TV careers, an amazing family, as you mentioned, you guys created a media empire together.
We
with your
did.
YouTube channel, podcast, and best-selling book.
Yes, sir.
How do you balance not only being spouses, but also as business partners, in particular, in the public eye?
Man, it's difficult, Jalen. I'll tell you that, because we never quite seem to catch a balance. It seems like something always suffers at some point. And even in our book, for example, we have a chapter that people kind of were like, what? The title of it is The Kids Ain't First. So we have 4 sons. Jackson, Cairo, Kaz, and Dakota. They are 11, 6, 5, and 1. So that in itself is already demanding. Yeah. But we've realized, whether it's with parenting, whether it's with business, whether it's with anything in between, if he and I are not on the same page,
correct,
if the vibe is not right, if there's a disconnect, nothing else stays afloat. So we make it a purpose now, because in business, when you're working with a spouse, it's hard sometimes to decipher when to blur those lines and when we have to clock out and clock in, right? Yep. So we found that sometimes some of the arguments that we had in personal life, for example, might have carried on into business.
Correct.
I got to sit down next to you and record a podcast about love. Now I don't know if I like you right now.
Right, I ain't even talking to you right now.
I'm talking to you. You know how many times that's happened? Or we have a live show. Where was it? Just now, we had a live show in LA. And Devale was upset because my hair and makeup ran late and he didn't get to do sound check in time. And he was all mad. The minute we hit the stage, it's like, oh my God, love fest. And we would never know.
But what we did, though, before the show started, I said, hey, let me talk to you.
Everybody out. Become good at this.
Everybody out. I sit down with my wife. I tell her exactly how I feel in real time.
Love that.
I ask her how she feels in real time. And what we don't do, we don't judge each other for how each other feels. If I made you feel a way, I can't tell you you're not supposed to feel a way.
Right.
I made you feel that way. I'll give you grace. Maybe that wasn't my intention, but I'll receive and accept the fact that I made you feel a way. She's practiced the same thing. There's so many arguments on the internet now about men and women not taking accountability.
Correct.
What we're big about is taking accountability.
For sure.
It's hey, I did what? Okay, let me try to check that. Just know that that's not what I meant, but I'm going to try to check it. And then we just move on. Okay, that's how you feel?
Yes.
That's how we got a show here in 20 minutes. You ready to rock? I love you. You love me. And then we don't, if she don't want to say it sometimes, she'll be like,
of course.
Yes, I'll be like, you love me.
But because your relationship a lot of times mimics the mirror. And when you look in it, do you see yourself in your reality or your representative or your manager? Like, are you really acknowledging what it is? And so in writing this book, I know there were some things you guys had to look at each other and be like, are we going to talk about that?
That's a fact.
Are we going to put it in the book?
That's
so
a fact.
What is something you both found maybe exciting or hard to relive while you were writing your book?
So I think the hardest thing, because I mean, 20 years, over the span of 20 years, so many different things happened. And also too, we've shared so much over the course of our relationship through social media in the past, 6 years that we've been kind of active. So we're trying to think of things that were different, not shared, different perspectives that people maybe haven't heard before. So we talked a lot about our childhood, our parents' effects on how we became who we are today. But I think the hardest thing to date that I had to decide to share on was an unplanned pregnancy that we had in college. And that was particularly difficult to share. Well, because of the climate around women, the rights to their bodies and what they can do with it, and how the political views have kind of clouded that atmosphere. But I also felt like this is a story that was so many other women's stories. And people wouldn't have necessarily expected how things ended up and who felt what way about it. It wasn't what they would have expected. So I wanted to share it for that reason, for that girl out there or that woman out there who's maybe never shared something like this before, to feel comfortable enough to share it and to also heal from it. Because what tends to happen, if something happens and you feel shame or you feel embarrassment or you feel like you're going to be judged for it, you just kind of tuck it away. So in us talking about it, and then writing the book, because when you'll see in the book, we talk from both of our perspectives, but about the same story. So you'll get Devale's perspective and you'll get mine, and we kind of do this dance back and forth. And in that, it was particularly difficult for Devale and I because it was bringing up old emotions again that were really unhealed. We were kids at the time, about 19 years old. So we didn't effectively know how to even be there for each other. And he did the best that he could for me in that moment. But it was just important for me to share my story so other women could feel seen. And you have no idea, when we went on our book tour, we went to New York, DC, Philly, and Atlanta. And in each show, when we mentioned this portion of the book, at least maybe 4 to 5 women in each city, in giving me a hug and an embrace, meeting me, said, "Your story is my story."
Wow.
Thank you for sharing. Your story is my story. Some woman, this is older woman, I think she said she was like 67, because we have an older crowd that follows us as well too. And she said,
no doubt.
She said, only 2 people know about this. And I was going to take it to my grave. And she said, story too. So the empowerment in that alone, in the sisterhood, in that turning that moment that in the time for us was something really difficult to deal with, finding a way to find power in that. It was important for me to share that. And Devale was, he had my back with that and sharing that story. And it was particularly difficult too, when we now had to do the audiobook. We were in the same room together. And he would read his portion, and I would read mine. And it was almost like a journal that we were reading to each other. And we got emotional in the audiobook session.
Absolutely.
Because it was I was hearing his perspective out loud as if he were talking to me. And it just took me back to my 19-year-old self. And, that was a moment where we had to pause and just kind of embrace and just, took the time to really just acknowledge what happened, heal from it, and move forward. So if you dive into the book, you'll hear more about that story.
Absolutely. That's incredible. And after 20 years of being together, 4 boys.
Yes, sir.
What does date night look for you?
Date night, we could barely get out the door some days because my boys are like,
that's why I asked.
Especially our second.
Where y'all going? What y'all doing? I need this. Can I go? Can I do this?
And then Cairo, our second son, is always like, "You're always leaving."
If there's one thing I could say to young men or even older men, I chose to move my mother-in-law in with us, especially while Khadeen was carrying and with child, because I just knew that she would need help. And I also knew that if I wanted my wife to be my girlfriend again,
correct,
I'll be time.
No doubt.
So whereas a lot of men would be like, I would never live with my mother-in-law, I'd be like, okay, you better slow down with that. Every time, Jay, my mother-in-law is so dope, right? Shout out to Mimi. She said to me, Devale, I sacrificed a lot of my marriage trying to be the best mother that I could be to my kids, that I wasn't the best wife to my husband. And she said to me, I don't want my daughter to go through the same thing. She said to me, every Friday, you take my daughter out. I got the kids. I'll keep them. They can sleep with me. When y'all come in, don't even look for them. Just go do what y'all do. When I tell you Our village is strong. Her mom, her dad, my mom, my dad, both of our brothers and sisters. At any time, if we need, like we're here in Detroit now, and they're with our family back home. Our village has definitely made it easy for us to continue to keep this flame lit and keep date nights going at least once a week, at least. But that's the minimum, because my wife here put her parents to bed. She said, listen, my husband wants his time at 10 o'clock.
Right.
Everybody's going to bed at
all
10
y'all,
o'clock.
The kids.
All y'all.
Take your little melatonin, mom, dad. Do what you gotta do.
And she thinks she's slick. She'll go in and put on one of them rompers, and she'll come out with like a little dust buster. And I'm like, "What you doing?" She's like, "I'm cleaning the house." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I know what you're doing."
It's giving role play, you know?
Exactly. No doubt.
Grab me a drink,
and we just
chill. We just chill.
Sometimes we play cards like we did in college. You know, we
love
watched
that.
Undercover. So good.
Love that. And I appreciate you guys for being so open and for taking the time. And I truly mean it when I say your goals.
Oh, man.
As somebody that's been in multiple relationships, I've been divorced before, I've cheated before, I've been cheated on before. And the one thing that you guys teach us is that if you invest in your king and queen, that can be a union that can last for a lifetime. So I'm inspired by you guys. So many others are and will be inspired by you guys. And before I let you get out of here, I got a rapid fire segment called Gone in 60 Seconds. Y'all ready to do this?
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
What card game do you enjoy playing?
Big Whist.
Oh,
that's no doubt. That's Detroit all day.
You already know.
No doubt. No doubt. All right. What is the best restaurant that you guys enjoy?
Oh. Man, where's our favorite? Out here in Detroit was Big Fish. Remember?
Big Fish. We go to Big Fish all the time.
Ooh, there you go.
Anything seafood for us.
No
we
doubt.
Even do Red Lobster. We do Red Lobster.
No doubt. I love that. I love that. When you start off eating a hero sandwich, you could take it to Red Lobster and it's still love.
It's easy.
I ain't picky.
You know what I'm saying? That's love is love. How about this one? Because we talked about music. If your marriage was a mixtape, what would the opening track be?
You're All I Need, Mary J.
Yes, that's a good
Mary
one.
J. and Method Man.
Yes.
You're All I Need.
And by the way, that video, Mary J. had a long night. Had a long night. They still got it done, but there's a reason why she's sitting down the entire time, everybody.
The whole video.
She had a long night. Shout to the queen, Mary J. Blige. What 3 words would you use to describe each other?
3 words. There's that. Devale is going to be unyielding, charismatic, and hilarious.
I would say brilliant, beautiful,
thank you,
and brave.
Oh, thank you.
Love that. Love that so very much. Black love on display. You can, and by the way, y'all can see how they look at each other, vibe with each other, body language. Like
it's my baby.
Listen, you don't know where his hand has been this whole time.
No doubt, besties. You know what I'm saying? These are besties. And lastly, because you talked about where his hand has been, what advice would you give a couple who is considering marriage?
Considering marriage. Biggest thing is learn to be of service to your partner. When you wake up in the morning, find out how you can help make their day that much brighter. Because when you do, they'll be more inclined to want to reciprocate that. And it's just a nice cycle. Beautiful cycle.
I like that. My biggest thing is make sure that you want to be married. A lot of people get married for other people's reasons. Oh, time is running out. Oh, you need a baby. Oh, what's next steps? No, get married because you actually want to be in a committed monogamous relationship with someone else. That has to be the biggest thing. If you don't know if that's what you want to do, take your time and put a pause on it.
That's a fact.
Check out their book, We Over Me, the counterintuitive approach to getting everything you want for your relationship. Khadeen and Devale Ellis, it's been an honor. I appreciate you guys joining the show and continued success.
Yeah,
Jalen, man, we appreciate you, man. So
happy to be here, man. We appreciate you as well. It's been a pleasure.
It's like a full circle moment for me. When I first retired, me and Jackson used to sit down and watch sports TV all day. And you are one of our faves. You will always be one of our faves. We watch you right now. Anything you got, we support, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. That's mutual. Looking forward to playing some big wins with y'all soon.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
No doubt. Love.